Greetings, I'm Squared here. Today we're going to talk about taking a quadratic equation that is in standard form and changing it using completing the square to vertex form. So this is kind of in between completing the square to solve quadratic equations and learning about the quadratic formula. So this is an extension. This is one of the wonderful ways we can use completing the square to make our life easier when we graph quadratic equations. So I just wanted to remind you of what standard form is and what the vertex form is, because we're going to take equations like this and turn them into this by completing the square. Hopefully you remember when you graph stuff like this, right? Our vertex is right there. Our vertex is HK. Notice that the K is positive and that's positive, but this says minus H. It was the opposite of whatever was in parentheses. So in today's homework, you're going to have to change from standard form to vertex form and then also say what the vertex is. We're going to use completing the square to do that. So let's get started. It's a little bit different than when we completed the square, but the same basic steps. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to rewrite the equation. We're not going to move anything to another side because you'll remember in vertex form, everything's on one side with y on the other. So we can't move something to the side and keep it in vertex form. So we're just going to move C. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to rewrite this. And we're going to move C, first step. Second step is we're going to take half of B and we're going to square it. So again, half of B, our B is 4, is 2, squared is 4. And we're going to add it here. Notice it says add it between the X and the C, that's this guy, and then subtract it over here. Now that seems a little odd. Why would you add it and subtract it? Well, what happens? Pick a number. Okay, I'm going to pick 10. Add 4, 14. Subtract 4, 10. You're right back where you started. We don't want to change any of the values. So that's why we just add 4 and subtract 4. We want to get this set up to be that nice little pretty binomial squared. So we're going to add it here because that's what we need to complete the square. But if we add it here, we've just changed the entire equation. So we subtract it here and now it's back to normal because 4 minus 4 is 0. So that's why we add it here and subtract it there. So the next step is to factor this side. So we're going to factor. Remember our nice little pretty binomial. So we're going to get x plus 2 because it's the square root of that plus half of that 4. And then negative 5 minus 4 is 9, negative 9. This is our vertex form. Pretty cool, huh? Now what's our vertex? So hopefully you got it in your mind. Pause if you need to and come back, but our vertex is the opposite of what we see in the parenthesis for our x coordinate and then what we see out here for our y coordinate. So that's what you're going to do in your assignment tonight. Change it to vertex form from standard form and tell me what the vertex is. Okay, just 2 more because hopefully you've done, we've done the vertex form, we've done completing the square, we've done a lot of this stuff. So hopefully this is just putting some pieces together for you and not too hard. Okay, we're going to move it. We're going to switch the equation around a little bit. Then we're going to take half of B, which is 3, negative 3. We're going to square it, which is positive 9. We're going to add it here and subtract it here. Because really, what did we just do? We added 0. We didn't do anything, but we just set it up to get it a different form. So we're going to factor the left side, that little part right there to get our trinomial square, and then we'll combine these. 11 minus 9 is 2. Okay, what's the vertex? Hopefully you said that the vertex was 3, 2. And if you did, you'd be right. Okay, last one before you're off to the races and doing that assignment. We're going to rewrite it, leaving a little space. And then we're going to take half of B, which is 4, and square it, add it, and subtract it. And we're going to factor, which is half of that, right? And a minus looks like 11. So what's our vertex? 4, negative 11. Now this gets more complicated because of everything that went on this year. We didn't have time to do the A equals, when A is bigger than 1. It's a lot more complicated when you do that. So hopefully you'll learn that in algebra too. But you have enough information to get a good idea of what that would look like. So good luck with changing it to vertex form. A lot of people use this method when they have an equation to graph, because it's much easier to graph when it's in vertex form, right? We graph the vertex, we use our pattern up 1 over 1, up 1 over 3, up 1, continue. Instead of going through the x equals negative b over 2a and finding plugging that function, that number back into the function to find out what the y coordinate is. It's just a little more time consuming. So this is a great alternative. So good luck changing to vertex form from standard form. M squared, signing out.